All right, Mikey, I want to go over with you volume, okay? So what I want you to realize right here, the gray that you're seeing on my screen, that is the base. That is the bottom of what's going to be this rectangular prism. It's like they cut this box open, okay? So when you're looking for the area, it is just in your formula chart, it's going to be base times height is what it's going to say. So if we come to look at this right here, I'm going to zoom this in so you can see it. We would find area right here, and then let me zoom that in, area, and then what shape is the base right here? It's a rectangle, so I'm going to go to rectangle, and I see that it says area equals base times height. But remember, you learned in third or fourth grade that also means length times width, and it's lowercase, so it's just length times width. So what it's talking about here is this length right here and this width right here. So the first thing I have to do is find the area of the base. So if I go ahead and put, oh, let me remove those. If I put in a cube, right, if I keep adding cubes onto the base, what I know is 4 will go that way. And then I can do it by row and fill them up. And so what I know is how many fill up the bottom layer. Well, so on this right here, I can see that I have 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to write that. So we have a 4 by, which also means to multiply, right? So we can use our dot or our X. Probably not a dot. Actually, I just got onto you for that. So we're going to take away that X. Or it's probably not an X. So I'm going to go ahead and use the dot there. So 4 times 5, because there's 4 this way and 5 this way. And so that's going to equal the same as, so again, that was area equals length or base times height, which we know that this is the same. So like this would be my base right here, these, right here, base, and then the height would be this way. So 4 times 5. So area equals, this is not easy to draw on there, buddy. 4 times 5, which equals 20. I'm going to have to figure out a better writing tool. Okay, so, that's awful. Let me just take that. So 20 right there. Oh, it'll let me write like that. Okay, so now the thing is, if I do another layer, right? If I do another layer, what happens is it's going up, and I've got to figure out how far up, or the volume, right? Because now I found area, that's just the bottom. How far up they would need to go. Well, how tall is it? The height, right? So this was just area, or length times width is actually what I like to call this. So this would, I could also call this area equals length times the width, and get rid of that, because that base and height is a little bit confusing. Okay, so then, I'm going to kind of get rid of this formula right here. And leave it area equals length times width. So then I've got to figure out how tall it is. So how many layers can I put on? That, it goes 3 high. So now I've got to take that formula, and I'm going to do again. So now, now it becomes, so area equals, and then if I go back to my formula chart, I've already got the area of the base. So volume, if I'm looking for volume, it says volume of a prism, which means that it comes into, prisms are your rectangular prisms and things like that. If it comes to a peak, it's a pyramid, but if it's a prism. So V equals capital BH. Remember that capital B is area of the base, which is what we just found. And so now it's capital BH, which is, we already know that the capital B stands for area equals length times width, right? And then times the height. So now we've already found out that length times width equals 20. So area equals length times width, or 4 times 5. And then the height, let me move up. Yep. So area equals 4 times 5 is 20. And then the height, how tall is it? Well, it's 1, 2, 3. So times 3. So 20 times 3. So then area equals 60. And it's cubic because it's cubes, cubic. So units, I can use units cubed because I don't know if, it doesn't tell me if it's inches, feet, or so on, okay? So I'm going to pause right there and I'm going to clear it and we're going to do another one. So we're going to do another one. Again, my base is the white squares right here. And so if I were to fill those up cube by cube, right, I would be putting one here and one here and one here and one here and one here, or I can just do the row. And so I can go, okay, how many goes across this way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I'm going to keep filling in those rows. So what I know is that I have, again, if I look at my formula chart, volume, I'm looking for volume. And it says volume of a prism is capital BH. Well, remember that when I have a capital, it also means there's another formula in there, which we learned rectangles. To find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So this formula actually becomes, I'm going to mark that off so you're not confused, this formula is going to become length times width. So I'm going to rewrite this volume equals length times width times height. This length times width was this capital B, okay? And I found that by going to the area formula, looking up rectangle, and it's base times height, which is the same as length times width for a rectangle, okay? So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to plug in those numbers. So over here, I'm going to do volume equals length times width times height. My length, I already know, is 8 across this way. So volume equals 8 times the width gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I don't know how tall it is. I'm going to go ahead and raise this up and figure out how tall it is. Well, I've already got one layer and it looks like another layer and another layer. So it looks like I'm going to be 3, a layer of 3 will fill it. So what they're trying to figure out is, let's say that these were cookies and they want to know how many cookies you can fit in this box to ship it, okay? So what I would then do is volume equals, well, 8 times 5 is 40. And then times the height. So that means this bottom layer is 40 squares, okay? And then 40 times 3, volume equals, 40 times 3, I don't know, but 4 times 3 is 12. And then I would add I'm going to move this over here out of the way. And then I would add a 0, so it would be 120. So 3 times 0 would be 0, 3 times 4 would be 12, 120, and then it's units cubed because it's volume. So if I stacked those up and I did each layer, or I continued to go by rows, and I shut that box, right? And I closed that box all up, just like that, I would have 120 squares in the inside of that. And so we're going to check that. 120. And we have that correct. Okay? All right. So that is what I really wanted you to understand about volume of a rectangular prism. Okay. So the other thing, Mikey, is we want to talk about volume of a cylinder. So again, same thing. I'm going to go to, on my math chart, volume. And a cylinder is actually a prism because, again, a pyramid has to come to a point. And it does not, and so it's a prism. And so, again, my formula is V equals base times height. So with that, if I have V equals capital B times H, well, remembering that capital B actually stands for area of the base. So the base, depending on the shape, well, this base is a circle. So I'm going to go to my formula chart and find area of a circle. And when I do that, it gives me the formula, area equals pi r squared. That's what this is right here. They're giving you that capital B is that right there. So it's really V equals pi r squared and then times the height. Well, it really depends on what the radius is and able to solve that. And so if the radius, let's just say that we make our radius 3. So let's make it 3 inches. So if we make it 3 inches, we're going to have volume equals pi, okay, times 3 squared times the height, and let's just make our height 7 inches. So we would have times 7. So you know what pi equals, and if you don't remember, you can go to your formula chart, and it's this right here, pi equals 3.14. And so I would go volume equals 3.14 times 3 squared. Remember that this little 2 means squared, and it means this number right here, the 3 times itself 2 times. So, and then I'm going to bring that 7. So 3 times 3 is really 9. Okay, so I'm going to bring that down, bring the 7 down, and then bring my 3.14, and then volume equals. So it doesn't matter if I multiply this first or the 3.14 times 9. Well, I happen to know that 9 times 7 is 63. So it may be easier to go ahead and do 3.14. Go ahead and make that 63. I took care of that. And then multiply times the 3.14. And when you do that, it will give you the volume of this cylinder. So 3 times 4 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Move over. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry that 2. Oh, carry that 2. 6 times 1, 6, 7, 8. And then 6 times 3 is 18. I'm going to add them together. 2, 8, 17. Carry the 1, 9, and 1. So my decimal is 1, 2 over. So 197. So volume equals 197.82 inches cubed. I'm going to move those out. So inches cubed, because, and that's a little 3 because we did it in inches, and when you find volume, it's going to be cubed, okay? So I'm going to clear this. Okay, so we're gonna, I want you to try another one of those. And so we're gonna pretend like, let me give you one to do. So again, cylinder, that is volume equals big B times H. And I'm going to have my radius equal 4, and then my height, how tall it is, I want my height to equal 12, and we're going to make these centimeters. Okay, So I want you, I'm going to leave this paper for you. I want you to rewrite the formula right here. And so again, it will be this formula. This is the whole formula for volume. So rewrite it right here on this line, and then plug in your numbers, okay? And then solve. So the bottom line should be your volume equals whatever, and then don't forget your units. What are our units right here? And then you have a little 3. I'm going to give you that hint because it's cubed. All right, so you're going to solve this problem. All right. The only other one I want you to think about is if they give you a cylinder question and they're asking you for volume, volume equals base times height. But what if they don't give you the radius? What if they actually give you, I'm going to draw another cylinder for you. What if they actually give you let me see if I can make this larger. Oh, it did not make it larger. Oh, I can this way. Yeah. So what if it gives you, drop something. Oh, this way. What if it gives you the, not the radius, but the diameter, right? All the way across. Well, if my diameter equals, let's just say, let me give you 12 centimeters. Okay. I've got to figure out how to find the radius. Well, remember, diameter goes all the way across and radius goes halfway. So you figure out what that radius is going to equal. Then I'm going to tell you that my height is going to equal 20 centimeters. Okay? So I want you to, again, to rewrite the correct formula. Remember to find your radius. That's a trick. And then solve that down to volume equals whatever units, which is centimeters, cubed. So I want you to solve that one as well. All right, Mikey, I want you to watch this video, this YouTube video with me, kind of explaining why the formula is what it is.
The credit for this suggestion goes to Naomi Anderegg for this intuitive proof. So let's take a look at how this proof is done.
We need to know why the formula works.
We begin with a cube. And let's go ahead and label its length, width, and height. Now, a cube can always be divided into 6 equal pyramids. The base of each pyramid is length times width. The height is going to be the height of the cube divided by 2. So in order to find the volume of the pyramid, we take the volume of the cube and divide it by 6, since the 6 pyramids are equal to the whole cube. What we want to do now is take a look at the second equation and solve for the height of the cube, and this is going to be 2 times the height of the pyramid. Substitute this into the formula. 2 over 6 simplifies to 1 over 3.
Because they can both be divided by
base for length times width, and now we have
2.
the familiar formula of base times height over 3.
Okay. So the reason I want you to understand that is if we look at the formula for a pyramid, right? Volume, zoom this in. So volume of a pyramid, if I come over here, its volume equals 1/3 the base times the height. Again, the base, that capital B means area of the base. So multiplying something by 1/3 is the same as just dividing. That's what the line means right here, dividing by 3. So that's why the formula that he just talked about works. So volume equals capital B times the height divide by 3, which is the same as 1/3 the base times the height. What's important to know is depending on what type of pyramid you're doing, you've got to know what the base is, and then you've got to look at your area formulas. Is it a triangular pyramid? Well, then you use this formula for the capital B. If it's a rectangular pyramid, you're going to use this formula, which remember is length times width. So I'm going to also put length times width there. Okay, to remind you. All right, so let's look at, I'm going to zoom out of this, and we're going to go to, okay, so here is our formula again. This is a rectangular pyramid, which means the bottom or the base, I'm going to highlight that, is right here. The bottom down here, okay, is a rectangle, which we just talked about. That is the same if that formula was, so that formula on your chart is going to be V equals capital B times H. You could see it as 1/3 capital B times H, or if we don't like it that way, which makes it a little harder in my opinion, you could always write it capital B, which is area of the base, times the height divided by 3, because that line in a fraction means to divide. So they already went ahead and put for you that we know that if this is a rectangle, well, then that means volume equals capital B right here stands for length times the width, and then times the height, and then we're going to divide that by 3. So let's pretend that on this one that we're going to try that the length is 3. We're going to make the width 2, and then we're going to make the height 7, okay? And we're going to make these all centimeters. So let's go ahead and solve for this. So volume equals, what is our length? What is 3 times our base, which is, or excuse me, our width, which is going to be 2, times our height, which is 7, divide by 3. So 3 times 2 is 6, times 7, and then divide by 3. And so I should have wrote that a little smaller. Volume equals, so 6 times 7 is going to be 42 divided by 3. And so I'm going to come over here to this side. So 42 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. I subtract, I'm left with 1. I bring down my 2. 3 goes into 12. 4 times 3 is 12, leaves me with 0. So my volume is going to equal 14 centimeters cubed. Okay, so this right here is my answer for that pyramid. So again, it really matters what your base is, okay? So we went ahead and wrote the formula like this. You're going to see it on your chart as this right here. In this case, we're working with rectangular pyramids, so the bottom is a rectangle. And so I'm going to work another one for you on the paper. So let's see if we can make this a little bigger. And then let's go ahead and we're going to make this rectangular pyramid. I'm not going to be able to draw it, so I'm going to also use the screen. So let's make this one where, and again, I'm going to use this formula over here because I feel like this one's a little easier than trying to multiply by 1/3, which really means divide by 3. Anytime you're multiplying by a fraction, like 1/3 or 1/2, you can always divide by that bottom number. So if I make my base, in this case, I'm going to make my base 3. Sorry, I'm going to make my, let me actually take that away. Oh, I'm going to make my length 5, my width 3, and my height, let's go ahead and make that 9, okay? So if I work this out, first I've got to figure out what formula I'm going to plug in for this area of the base. Well, depends on what the base is. In this instance, it is a rectangle, so I would go to area of a rectangle and know that that is length times width, or that little b h, okay? So volume equals length times width times height, divide by 3. Well, my length in this case is going to be volume equals 5. My width is going to be 3. My height is going to be 9. Divide by 3. So I want you to go ahead and multiply this right here. When you get that answer, multiply it by 9. And then when you get both of those, put your answer here. So 5 times 3, put your answer. Then multiply that by 9 and then put it here. Then divide by 3. And then you're going to get volume equals whatever this is. And let's just say we're going to make these centimeters cubed as well. Okay. So that is how you find volume of a pyramid. So I want you have a sheet connected that has 3 problems that I want you to try. So finish this one that's on this paper and then go ahead and do the paper with pencil. And it's really important to me that yours looks like this. Volume equals, go ahead and put the correct formula. Okay. Then you're going to write the next formula depending on what the base is. If it's a rectangle, then it's going to be the length times the width times the height divided by 3. Then I want you to plug in the numbers. So your numbers are going to go here, divide by 3. Your 3 numbers, put your numbers here. Then do your math over on the side. Get me what all of those multiplied, put that one number divided by 3, then divide it and get your one answer here. And don't forget to put, if it's cubic, centimeters or inches or feet or yards or whatever it is, okay? So every single one of these steps right here need to go on those problems. Okay, I love you. Good night.